Hi guys, it's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson. Hope you guys have all been doing well. I say guys in the general sense, including women and men, but if I look at my YouTube statistics, I don't think any women watch my YouTube channel at all. I think it's all men, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Interesting demographic. We have all these demographic stats. Now, I think my demographic is 25 to 35, and then over 65. And then everything in the middle is just, you know. Anyway, I'm soon to play at Conway's with my trio, so I'm excited about that. And I'm going to start breaking out some of my more difficult tunes now that I'm used to playing with the guys that I've been playing with. One of the tunes that I really like is a tune called Mixing by Airto Moreira, which was written in the 70s, and it's in 7. And then I thought, well, I wanted to talk about meter today. And because I consider meter to be the most important aspect of music. Music, when we say music, we think of something we hear, but really, music is something that we feel as well and makes us move, hopefully, if it's good music. And really, we feel music sooner than we hear it. And if it doesn't feel good, we don't really want to listen to it. So it's really the feeling that it gives us at least as much as what we hear, And the thing that makes us feel a certain way is not just a steady beat, but how the beat is accented, how it's emphasized, how it's measured, all right, which is where the word meter comes from. So to meter something is to measure it, let's say. But if all you had was a steady beat, if all you had was just an incessant beat, right, that would be just open-ended, and you could do that, but it doesn't provide any kind of a structure. Now, of course, you don't have to have a steady beat all the time, right? We can speed up and slow down, and there's elasticity, there's crescendo and decrescendo and rubato, which means to steal time. You can sort of bend the time. You can have one time that's kind of more metronomic, let's say, and then you can start playing a little early, a little ahead of the beat, or a little behind the beat. Now, all of those things create interest in the music. But the very basic aspect of, are we going to accent the beat every other beat? Loud, soft, loud, soft. Are we going to do loud, soft, soft, loud, soft, soft, right? What does that mean exactly? And usually we express the meter in a time signature. And one of the failings of music education is that the word meter isn't really discussed. Usually we only hear about time signatures. And a time signature is really just a description of what the meter is, but it's a description of how the music is supposed to feel, not just a mechanical instruction on how many beats per measure. That doesn't really mean very much. And we really don't even need measures to have music. There's plenty of music that doesn't have measures. The measures, to have a measure in a music, to have a bar line, is really just a convenience. And it can be helpful so that it might make the music easier to read. But typically, the musical ideas are not contained within the bars. They're contained over the bar line. And that's a whole nother subject. But I kind of had this revelation, maybe a little too late in life. I think I was a freshman in college, and I had a teacher named Hugh Aitken, who was a composer, contemporary composer, and the word contemporary doesn't have much meaning anymore. But if you look him up, Hugh Aitken, and he really set me straight about meter and what it means. And but you can have we'll talk about the categories of meter. So you have simple meter, and then you have compound meter. So let's talk about simple meter first. What is simple meter? Well, simple meter is let's say, a meter of 2. And you can't even see that. Is it right? Oh, yes, it writes. Look at that. Okay. Simple meter, simple meter is a meter of 2, let's say, or 3. And even sometimes people consider 4 simple meter, I suppose. But let's say the top number tells you how often the beat is accented. So you have, say you have a series of quarter notes, and we're going to let the bottom number represent what kind of note gets one count. That's totally arbitrary. It could be eighth notes, it could be quarter notes, it could be 16th notes. And there are good reasons to choose one note over another. But let's just, we're used to seeing quarter. This is not a fraction, by the way. This has nothing to do with a fraction. But this one tells you how often. Loud, soft. Loud, soft. That's an accent mark. Loud, soft. All right. So loud, soft. All right. So loud, soft. Loud, soft. Right. That's going to tell you 1, 2, 1, 2. And then you'll see if this 2 beats in a measure, quarter notes get one count, well, then the bar lines are going to look like that. Okay. And that's what it's going to look like. But that's what it's going to feel like, because music is to be danced to as well. If you wanted a meter of 3, well then, again, you'd have your series of quarter notes, let's say, and it would be loud, soft, soft, loud, soft, soft, loud, soft, soft, right? And then you put your bar lines here just as a convenience. But very often, again, the musical ideas go over the bar lines. So that's a whole nother issue. Now, even though people might consider 4 to be a simple meter, it's in some ways a little bit more of a compound meter. So what's a compound meter? Well, a compound meter is just what it sounds like when you put 2 things together. But 4/4 is what we call common time. It's also represented by a symbol. The symbol is this, like a big C. That is not true of 2/4 or 3/4. And if you have a meter of 2/2, which is a whole other thing, 2 counts in a measure, half notes getting one count, that's what it looks like. It's called cut time. And I'll explain that in a minute. But a meter of 4, if we're talking about 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, loud, right? So we definitely have to have an accent on count 1. Count 1 is the loudest. So we definitely have an accent on count 1. But then we also have an accent on count 3. And count 3, that's a stress mark. That's a stress mark, just a sostenuto mark. But it's accented but less. So it's loud, less, loud, less. Right? That's really what 4 is meant to be. Now, there's another. So there's always a complication, right? So there's another complication over that. What's the complication? Well, the style of music that you're playing. So these, of course, are gross generalizations. But if you're playing classical music, you're probably going to interpret the music, as a general rule, just the way I described. 1, 2, 3, 4. Loud, less. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're playing jazz, then they kind of flip that on its head, and 2 and 4 get the accents. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm accenting 2 louder than 4, but sometimes it's accented equally, and sometimes 4 is accented more than 2, and sometimes 2 isn't even accented. 4 is accent. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's kind of interesting as well. Even a simple meter, like a simple meter of 3, my initial description was to have an accent in count 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the common dance that we associate with that is a waltz. Say a ballroom dance, right? But you don't have to accent on count 1. You could go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like the Blue Danube. or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. That's a possibility as well. Although there's still just one overarching, one main accent. Stylistically, you have jazz waltzes, which are a little different because jazz waltzes emphasize a syncopated beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. And it almost makes it sound like a compound meter. So we're going back to the idea of a compound meter, a meter of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Loud, less. So there's an accent on 1 and 4 is softer than 1. So that's the difference between one measure of 6, let's say, and two measures of 3, 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? What was, hang on, listen carefully, what was formerly count 4 in a meter of 6 is now count 1 in the second measure of the meter of 3. And that's the difference. It's how it's accented. So I'll just kind of write that out for a second to show you the difference of what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a meter of 6. Let's just say 6, 8, because typically we see eighth notes. You could have individual flags, or you could have beams. You can group them in beams. But accent, and then another accent, which is louder, and then like say a little softer. That's one measure of 6. Or you could have two measures of 3, but that would mean that what was formerly count 4 is now 1, and it's going to be accented just as loud as the first measure of 3, 8. So that's what we call it a compound meter. So the compound meter, again, is the meter of 6, and we don't have that. And we have this instead. We have 4, 5, 6, right? So the word compound, we're adding two things together, kind of 3 plus 3, but we treat the second grouping of 3 a little differently than the first grouping of 3. There's other compound meters. You can have a compound meter of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which are the accents? Count 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the next loudest accent. It's halfway down the measure. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 10 is accented. 1, 2, 3, 4 is accented. Almost like triplets, really. Why wouldn't I call them triplets? Well, triplets really are the exception to the rule. So you have rules, and then you have exceptions to the rule. If you have a piece of music that is consistently groupings of 3s, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way through, then you're going to choose a meter as a composer. You're going to choose a meter that reflects that. If, on the other hand, most of your groupings are not triplets, they're duplets, right? Groupings of 2s, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 1, 2. Then you're going to choose a meter like a meter of 4, where you're mostly going to see multiples of 2, so 2 eighth notes, 4 16th notes, 8 32nd notes, that kind of thing. But the exception you might take one beat and divide it into 3 parts. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 triplet. So you're taking that fourth count, dividing it into 3 equal parts. That's your triplet, and your triplet is expressed like with the 3, right? And then you see the grouping over the top of that. Bump, 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 right? It doesn't make any sense to do that if the whole piece is all in 12. If you have a piece like or like kind of music from the 50s, or dot 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 dot. That's kind of in 12. Or sometimes you hear blues guys play. Stylistically, though, they might really be swinging the eighth note to such an extreme that it almost sounds like a triplet, but it's really not. That's the other thing that's kind of hard to grasp about jazz, is that you have a kind of a specialized rhythm called a jazz eighth note, which is very hard, if not impossible, to quantify. You really can't write it down. And there's latitude that you have. It's not evenly divided, 1 and 2, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's not precisely, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 or like that. And that takes some listening. That's why you have music notation, but if you only play classical music, if you only listen to classical music, then you might have difficulty with that. Also, conversely, I think it's a good idea to take that approach even in classical music, because there are instances when that kind of mechanistic precision is just not going to be musical. So simple meters, meter of 2/4 or 2/8, 3/4 or 3/8, 3/16 even, 4/4, still consider a simple meter, and 2/2, 1 and 2 and. Those are accents, equal accents on 1 and 2, different than 2/4. 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and, loud, less. This is 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. That is more like a march. Dun, da, 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 dun, da, 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 1 and 2 and. So cut time, usually we see it 2 counts in a measure, half note gets 1 count. If you didn't see the time signature, and again, the time signature is merely the way we express the meter. So what is the meter? Well, the meter of 2 or a meter of 3 or a meter of 4. How often the beat is accented. How we express the beat in terms of notation, that's something a little different. Is it going to be a quarter note, an eighth note, a 16th? What is it going to be? But the simple meter, the compound meter, and then you have something called an odd meter. So why do they say odd? What's the word odd mean? Well, it doesn't mean, it's not strange. Odd just meaning that the number of counts in the measure, well, it can mean a couple things. The number of counts in the measure is not only an odd number, although of course the meter of 3 is an odd number, but we don't consider it an odd meter. We consider odd meters a meter of 5 or a meter of 7 or a meter of 11 for that matter. But typically, those are also a kind of compound meter, but the groupings of the beats alternate. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4, and if I put that together, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, or reversed. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, or 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 2 accents. In this instance, one was on count 1. The first was on count 1, and the next accent is on count 5. 5 6 7. That's the last grouping of 3. It alternates like a meter of 5, for example. 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5, or 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4. That's a possibility. Sometimes you see those odd meters expressed in a different way. Rather than writing out 5 4, rather than writing out, let's say, 5 5 4, you might potentially see 3 plus 2. That might be a possibility, just so that the composer is clear about where he wants the accents. Classical music is filled with it. Jazz is filled with it. especially Latin American music, Brazilian music, and I'm sure African music and Indian music. And actually, I find certain odd meters in some ways easier to play than common time. One of my favorite meters is a meter of 7. There's a tune that I like to play by Roger Kellaway, and it's called Come to the Meadow, and it's this. 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6. 1, 4, 5, 6. What's the next chord? 3, 4, 5, 6. And da da dum. 1, 2, 3. It's a very pretty tune. Six and 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the introduction is really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a tricky one. I kind of just do whatever I want there. I don't think I'm doing exactly what's on the record. There's another tune in 7, the Airto tune that I mentioned. 5, 6, 7, da 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 dee da 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 ba da da dee 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 da ba da da 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So it's 4 plus 3. Ba da ba da 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 ba ba da 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 ba da da ba 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 da da 1 ba da da ba 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 da da dum ba dum bum bum ba da be ba 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 da 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 da. It's a very cool tune, and that's an odd meter. But again, there's nothing strange about an odd meter. And this is an interesting little point. The drummer in my trio pointed out he was working on take 5, and he was noticing the drummer who played with Dave Brubeck on that record, Joe Morello. He was actually doing different types of accents in a meter of 5. It wasn't typically what we think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. He wasn't playing that through the solos. He was actually doing something different. If you really listen to the record carefully. So he was doing kind of 2 different kinds of 5 at the same time, which is really beautiful and crazy and challenging, But I really think, understanding meter. I hear so many people playing music, and but they don't seem to grasp the rhythmic aspect of it, and so the piece kind of falls flat. There's certain dances that are done in 6. Most classical music are based on some kind of dance form, though we don't really do those dances anymore. But but even if you're not dancing to it, you're still tapping your foot, right, or kind of bobbing your head or doing something. But it's that gut, that feeling in your gut that you get. And that's the thing that you don't really see in music notation. Although again, some composers try to get that across. They put accents in the piece. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes writing again like the odd meters, and rather than writing it as a one number, they write it as two numbers added together. Sometimes also there are pieces of music where you can actually change the meter in midstream. So you could literally go from 4, say for the first 8 measures, and then change to 3 for one measure and go back to 4. There's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine, It doesn't happen that often, and sometimes it's necessary to do that. I'm trying to think of a piece off the top of my head that everyone would know that where it does that. I can't quite think of it. I think of one off the top of my head right now, but they're there. They're around. But if you really want to look at odd meters and compound meters and things like that, Bartok's music, particularly the Mikrokosmos, they were lesson books for kids, but they're amazing, amazing tunes. You could look at those. That's quite interesting. Again, the recording that Take 5 is on timeout. There's a lot of very interesting meters on that, and a lot of those meters also they come from Eastern Europe. They come from where? Bulgaria. Bartok. I guess he was Bulgarian, I believe. Yeah, because he has Bulgarian dances, but even in the Eurasia, let's just say Eurasia, the Eurasian area of the world, you can hear rhythms like that. So anyway, that's my little rant for today, and I hope that gets you thinking about things. And again, thank you for everyone for listening and coming here, and good to see you posting, Francesco, and we'll post another one next week. So this is Jonathan, the Piano Lesson, signing off until next time. Bye-bye.